hi Somadip. Thanks for joining the session today. You can start with your intro, your day-to-day responsibility, what kind of project you are working currently, your data engineering experience, and we'll start from there. Over to you.
I'm right now with a housing finance company for the last 2.5 years as a data engineer. So previously, I was in the same company as a data analyst. So as a data analyst, I used to prepare different kind of automated reports for the different business stakeholders. And after getting promoted to data engineers, my main job and responsibility is to prepare different ETL pipelines. And also the main project in which I am involved in, that is a feature engineering project. So if I talk about the business problem, so we are to assess the behavioral tendency of all the customers. So as it is a housing finance company, we provide the housing loan to customers, and to assess the customer's performance, we have different machine learning models, as well as we have different pre-computed logics. So to prepare the features for those machine learning models, I have a feature engineering project which comprised of almost 3,200 features, which generated on a monthly level. So if I talk about the architecture of that particular project, so on a monthly level, I ingest data from on-premise SQL Server. That is the incremental data for the previous month only. So when I say previous month, that means, let's say I'm running my pipeline for this particular month, as it is a May. So I will extract the data for April. So for the April month, all the performance of the customer, I will extract and store it in a ADLS. Then I figure a database job by passing the path as a parameter to the database job. And after triggering the database, I got the path parameter path from the ADF. So I copy that particular data into a delta lake table. So that delta lake table has all the historical performance of all the customers. So let's say you have onboarded in our company in 2000. So the delta table has all the historical performance from 2000 to 2024. So all the performance is stored in that particular delta table. So after copying the latest incremental file into the delta table, I start the feature engineering job. So the feature engineering job is mainly like preparing different features like DU in last 3 months, DU in last 6 months, these kind of features. So after preparing all those features, that is 3,200 features, I basically filter the latest record. The latest record means the April month record, let's say. Filter the latest record and store all the newly created features into a different delta table. So that delta table is primarily used by a data scientist team for their model deployment. And I have hard-coded around 120 features. Those are like subpart of those 3,200 features. Those 100 features are stored in a different delta table for the data analyst as well as for the business user. So it is creating duplicacy. I understand that again, the 100 features we are storing in a different delta table, but it has a purpose. So initially we had a single table, but while querying in that particular table, when the business users and the data analysts were preparing report by querying that particular table and joining with some other table, we observe very laggy performance. As the table is a huge consisting of so many features, so it has a very laggy performance. So to optimize the performance, we have finalized some certain features around 100 to 120. And stored those particular features into a different delta table, and that delta table is accessed by the different business users to prepare all the reports in Power BI as well as in Tableau. This is all about my case.
So you talked about these 3,200 features you have made, or that is there in your project. If it is not being, most of them is not being used by the data analyst or the data science team, as you are saying, only 100 and 120 are being used for reporting purpose. So what is the use for the other features?
Yes. So we have two kinds of use cases. One for the business reporting, and second for the machine learning model deployment, which is useful for the behavioral tendency of the customer. So let's say we are developing these features to understand or to predict the next month behavior performance of the customer. So let's say we are after extracting all those features in the machine learning model, they
Mm-hmm.
prepare a report. So that report is all about whether the customer has a tendency or has a chance to pay the EMI on the next date or not. So if the report says that no, the customer will not pay the EMI on next month, then our internal team will push that particular customer to pay the EMI on an early date. So it is kind of a predictive algorithm which determines the customer behavior for the next particular date. So that behavior, that algorithm needs those features. That's why I have kept it.
And when you are saying you are building, I mean, there is some team who is building the reporting based on the. So, what kind of reporting or what kind of matrices you are showing in that reports? What is the
Yes.
insights? What kind of insights you are getting?
Yes. So if I talk about the business reports, we are day to day dealing with the delinquency performance. So delinquency means how many customers is not paying the EMI on right time or maybe paying the partial EMI. So we prepare a kind of the disbursement percentage versus with the delinquency percentage. So that amount of disbursement is a fresh disbursement. That is this amount of disbursement is not having any kind of delinquency or as a no issue. And this amount of disbursement has a issue. And so we identify different location and type of customer based on their salary profile and everything. This kind of KPIs.
Okay, is there any kind of data quality checks you are doing in your pipeline?
Yes, yes. So this is a post-disbursement performance analysis, what I have done. So in a different project, when we have onboarded that particular customer, so there is two phases. One phase is onboarding and second phase is post-disbursement process. The project that I've told right now is a post-disbursement process. So there is one more thing that is a while onboarding project. So in while onboarding, we have customers basic information, that is personal identity information. So that is a manual process actually. So let's say if a data entry operator puts a wrong information in front end, so in the back end that wrong information gets stored. Okay, so while ingesting the particular data from the back end, I used to check that the mobile number, length of the mobile number, that it should have a 10 character, Aadhaar card number, voter card number, the length of the number, and also the address part, that whether the address has a decent length or not, or it is just a city name only. So these kind of checks I have done, and along with the null check also.
So this is being done with the Spark Job only, Databricks?
No, for the onward, this is a daily job actually. So daily job, we have around like let's say 10 to 20,000 of records. So for 10 to 20,000 records, I don't use Spark. I use only the Python model for the daily check and all.
Okay, so data quality checks you are doing in Python itself.
Yes. Because it's a data size is very low and it is a daily job. It runs on a daily basis.
Okay, this is I mean, banking kind of data, I can say. So it should be very secure way of doing it. So what kind of data security compliance you are following in your project so that the customer data is being secured and they can rely on it?
Right. So all the personal information, identity information we have that particular customers, those are speaking in on premises. We don't have those data in cloud. And also the data, when we store that particular data in table, instead of giving full access control to the end user, we set up a row-based access control. And even the Aadhaar card, voter card information, we use a different kind of encryption. So that when the particular end user extract the data, they don't get the Aadhaar card, voter card information. We maintain a dedicated table altogether, and that table is only accessible by the senior manager only, senior or maybe the CX level.
Is it some kind of custom encryption or any by default encryptions you are using?
Yes, we are using a hash-based encryption in Python. So we by using that, we completely encrypted the data into a different data.
Okay, got it. Okay, it's cool. I can understand the project mostly. Let's start with some. Thank you for that. Let's start with some other topics. Maybe I can give you an SQL problem. You can start writing the solution, and then probably after that we'll be discussing more based on your resume, what kind of tech stack you are working. So let's start with the SQL one. I will share the questions here. One second.
Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so basically the thing is like that. If you, this is a service name you have. So maybe in your project there are multiple internal services running. Maybe it's an HDFS process. It's an on-premise kind of setup you can think about. A Hive thread is going on. So there is a system which is monitoring this kind of system, and whether it's up and down, what is the like updated time you can see. So your work is, if any system is being down for more than 5 minutes, if you see HDFS which starts from 10:2, it down for 10:7. So it's basically it's around, it's okay. So it's 10:2, 10:6. Okay. So maybe it's being down for around 4 minutes. So your work will be if any service is being down for more than 3 minutes, you have to catch it and create another table where there will be service name, start updated time, end updated time, and the status is down. So basically, HDFS is being down for more than 3 minutes. It's started first. It happened in 10:2 and in 10:6 is still down. So basically, we are tracking down that kind of service, and we create another table to show.
Okay.
You can understand the problem, right? Because if you see in below also HDF is being down again, but it was down from 10:9 to 10:10. So only it's being down from 1 minute. So we are not putting that record in that table.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. In this particular problem statement, I can use lag function also to check the at least for the 3 times and to get if the particular like let's say I'm using a lag function here, so but that I think will not be general because in this problem statement, like if I use maximum time only. Okay. Now subtracting the system equals maybe. Okay.
So while you are creating the output table, right? Just check the schema name of the output. It has start updated time and updated time. So you have to make the column names like that. Okay.
Right. And six down. And keep it from beginning time as well as maximum time. And
start updated time is the first time.
First time.
When the instance is being down.
I did not know that. Right. Because it's done. That's done.
Any idea is in your thought how to do that? You can articulate your idea first, writing the query.
Basically, if I'm thinking about like reverse of cumulative sum. So basically, if I take the difference of all those timestamp, particularly after breaking the table is in a up and down stream, then it will work fine. So all the difference should be like 1, right? So I'm not able to understand like how will I.
I'm giving you some hint, okay? So basically, you try to use a lag function. So when you are trying to apply lag on 10.2, it will be 10.1, okay?
Yes. Yes.
And then you check if a particular instance lag is down or not, and what's the time difference between that. And if you, in case if it is being down, then probably you have to mark it as y or n something else, a flag kind of thing. And in the last instance, and is 10.6, okay? So 10.6 lag is will be 10.5.
Yes. Yes.
In that way, you have to check the maximum lagging down, maximum lag timing for 10.6. And if it is still down, you can subtract between these two. And if it is more than 4, then it is your answer. So 10.6 lags is 10.5.
Yes.
So the flag is y. 10.5 lags is again down, so is y. Then 10.4 to 10.3 is again y. 10.3 to 10.2 is again y. It's y only. But 10.2 to 10.1 is no. Okay. So basically, you have to check all the y flags and the max y to the min y. The time difference between is more than 3, then it is there, right?
That's it. Okay. So in that case,
even it is there's with a little bit syntactical error, that is fine, but I just want you to write with the concept only. Just try to write the concept. Okay, Somadi, we can forward to the next question. You can solve it later of the interview if you have any idea of kind of idea you have coming. As of now, let us discuss something else also. I want you to write a PySpark coding questions. It's a very basic one. I'm sharing with you. Yeah, so basically you're receiving these files in ADLS2, okay, with a different country names, you can say. So India.csv, Germany.csv, something like that. You have to read this file and append a column. With that column, the column which are existing in the file is like country ID, country population, male to female ratio, something like that. you have to just add a new column, country name. But you have to fetch the country name detail reading the file from the file names itself. So you have to, so how you can do that in Databricks? You can write the, Databricks features you can use to do that thing. Or if you want to use some kinds of Python thing to understand the file name, reading the file, then you can also do that. It's anything.
Okay, fine. So in Databricks, we have a function called input file name. This will return the entire directory with file name. So what we can do based on the structure of the directory. So if it is a single directory, let's say I have a container, root container, there is a folder, and there is a file name. So we can split that particular file name. We can based on this one and get the last record. That is -1, or we can directly put 2 also. That is 0, 1, 2. So that will give the file name, and while getting the file name, I can use df.get column. What is required here?
Where you will pass the ADLSGN2 folder, the path. How will you pass it? How you will pass the path for that file?
From here only. So we can get the file from, we are passing the reading file while reading that particular file from the ATLS. We are having that particular file, right? So we can pass that path parameter in the full path parameter in the while reading, and get the input file name from that only.
So input file name is a default. It's a function provided by the Databricks where you can pass to path. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
this will work like this.
No, that thing is fine. Okay. Fine. Okay, let's discuss a situation.
Okay.
Maybe I'm your client, okay, and I'm asking, I do not have any idea of the distributed way of processing huge chunks of data. Just I'm asking you this thing, that I am having 100 GBs of files which I am receiving in an S3 bucket or in blob storage, maybe I'm getting it daily. So like if I want to process, so previously we are processing this huge data in on-premise, but now my company wants to move to the cloud basically, and we'll try to leverage the power of big data of Spark engine, but I'm not sure what kind of cluster size I need or what will be the expense for it. So just I wanted to know if it is a 100 GB files, what kind of cluster size should we use to process that kind of large file? So maybe you can say that the first time the data is 100 GB, incrementally probably daily I am receiving 20 GBs of data. So first time you have to load the data, and then you have to incrementally handle this kind of load. So what kind of infrastructure you will suggest to handle this kind of situation?
Okay, so first of all, like as we this is a subjective question, because we first of all we need to understand like what is the maximum budget for allocating the nodes. So first of all, I'll check for the budget, like how many nodes are allowed and how much cluster can we get. So more the number of nodes and higher the computation, obviously the job will be faster. So considering while testing with a 1,000 GB of data, initially I will go with a 1 GB of testing. So for let's say I'll pick the 1 GB data out of this 1,000 GB data, and accordingly I'll choose any cluster, let's say 8-core cluster with a 16 GB of RAM. So let's say that particular cluster sizing process that particular data in 10 minutes. Now our requirement.
I'm giving you some suggestion. You can consider that we have 10 node cluster.
Okay, so for 10 node cluster, So I need to identify the what will be the executor code and what will be the executor memory, right?
Okay.
Okay. So let's for the same thing. So let's say I'll go for a default or like a basic computation with an 8 core and the 16 GB of RAM. So let's say that particular piece of node process 1 GB of data in let's say 10 minutes. So my requirement is to process the particular data in 5 hours. So it will done on a nighttime basis and it will process in a 5 hours. So 1 GB of data, it will done in 10 hours. So if I put 10 nodes, then how much 1 GB will take? It will take 1 minute. So 5 hours, that means we have a 300 minutes of data.
How will you calculate executor memory and ports and other details?
Okay, so for the basic formula, we are having like five cores for the executor. Okay, 5 core for the executor and 1 for the OS purposes. So 6 core in 1 node. And the memory can be determined by the processing time and obviously the how much the particular core is getting, how much data a particular core is getting. So if we break down the particular data in many partitions, so obviously the data size will be lower, but obviously it will take more time to process the particular data. So there will be a trade-off between the partition and the compute time. Okay, so initially we can go with the 5 partitions, and for the yarn as it will take the 50% of the code. So the total V cores of that particular node should be 6 into 2, 12. So 12 cores should be there. Out of this 12 cores, 6 will be assigned for the yarn processes, and 6 will be assigned for the executor processes. Not executor, 5 will be for the executor and 1 for the core OS purposes. And for the memory management, if we have, like let's say, as I've told you, that we need to process that particular data in 5 hours. So based on the default configuration, so if a particular node is processing 1 GB of data in 10 minutes, so if as we are having 10 nodes, so that 10 nodes will process the data in 1 minute. So based on that calculation, we can change the memory and use as we need to process the data, let's say in 5 hours. So based on that timing, we need to change the memory and do trial and error to fix the memory size. So first of all, we need to define.
Okay, you continue.
So first of all, we need to define a time window, like how much time we need to process the entire data first. That is important. And second, we need to finalize the how many nodes are there. After finalizing these 2 components, we can then use trial and error to fix the memory.
One thing I want to understand as a client, so how if I am just running this job in Databricks, right? How Databricks will decide the cost? What kind of pricing model is involved in Databricks? Any idea on that? It is based on the. Is it based on the amount of file size I'm handling, or the amount of time I'm spending with the Databricks cluster to spin off, or how they charge basically?
Okay, so they are charged as a DB unit, database unit. So these charges are basically depends on the particular compute that you are asking for. So let's say you are asking for a standard X4 compute, that is a minimalistic compute that is available in data sets. In our project, we use PS16 V5 compute that consists of 64 gigs of RAM and 16 cores. So based on the compute, whether it is a delta accelerated compute, whether it is a compute optimized compute, whether you have enabled photon acceleration, these kind of whether the particular workspace is a Unity catalog enabled premium workspace. So these kind of configuration and how much time that particular compute is up and running, that will depend on the total costing of that particular database. So database will take care of the software part, and Azure or whatever cloud services that you will use, they will charge for the VM part.
Okay. In your current project, have you used? What the kinds of optimization techniques you use and how it's benefiting you?
Okay, so the main optimization what I have done by checking all the tasks and components. So previously we used to run on a very laggy manner. Previously what I have done, where I have used, as I've told you that I have a similar kind of window-based columns. So I have used for loop, and inside that for loop, I have dynamically passed all those window configuration and created all the columns with column statement. But later on, I have discovered that with column is a very laggy function because it basically underlines it computes the data frame again and again. So in a for loop, whenever I use with column, it computes the particular data frame. So it was a very laggy operation. So I avoided all the with column statement and used select expression. So I created an array list which consists of all the expression that is generated in a for loop, and then I used a select statement and passed that particular array in an unzip manner, and all the column state created in the select statement. It drastically reduced the time of computation of all the columns. And also, apart from this optimization, I have used partitioning on based on the date column. So as my project involves joining based on date and loan IDs, so I have partitioned all the data, and the cardinality of the date column is low compared to the loan ID. So I have partitioned all the data based on date columns, and all the loan IDs I have bucketed. So when I have joined the particular two data frame using a shuffle short merge join, it gets benefited from the bucketing principle, and the joining mechanism will be faster.
Tell me one thing, partition and bucketing, this is like what kind of transformation it is? A white transformation or null transformation?
So partition is not a white transformation. It is create a logical partitioning on each of the executor code, but bucketing is a white transformation. Why bucketing is a white transformation? Because it will co-locate the same kind of IDs based on hashed algorithm in a similar bucket. So let's say if ID 1, let's say I have a bucket 4, and ID 1 is in a executor 1, and ID 5 in an executor 3. So I need to bring ID 1 and ID 5 in the same bucket, because the hash algorithm will be one for both the IDs. So that requires shuffling of data. And as we know that white transformation needs shuffling, so bucketing is a white transformation. But
you are saying that bucketing involves shuffling, but partitioning does not involve shuffling?
No, partition doesn't involve shuffling.
Okay, fine. I'm giving an scenario, and you can just explain how you design this kind of situation. So maybe you're fetching the data from an API endpoint, okay? Then you are storing the data in ADLS. That fetching is happening with every 5 minutes. So whenever a new file comes into ADLS Gen 2, it should trigger a Databricks job. And first it will dump the data into the bronze layer in a delta table. And once the bronze layer is updated, then it should automatically trigger another Databricks job to perform some kind of aggregation on top of that. And in final notebook, you are creating a gold layer where you are basically creating the fact tables. Okay, and maybe in that in this pipeline, if you are facing some kinds of issue, you are also notifying with the email notifications. Okay, so you have to ingest the data from an API endpoint, and you have to create a fact table out of it. How will you design? What kind of tools you will be choosing to design this thing? You can explain your thought process.
Okay, so we need to run the pipeline in each 5 minutes, so we will extract data from the endpoint API. Okay, so we can use ADF pipeline copy activity with a HTTPS connector to ingest the data from the API endpoint, and we can maybe use tumbling window trigger. And tumbling window is not required here because we don't need any start time, end time for particular thing. So we can even use schedule trigger for that particular thing. So in each 5 minutes interval, it will trigger the copy activity. And once the copy activity gets succeeded, so we can choose different way of triggering activities in database, that is success, failure, and completion. So while the copy activity gets succeeded, we can trigger the notebook job. So in notebook job, we can load the data in the bronze table and do any kind of transformation if it is needed. And at the end of the notebook, we can trigger another notebook from that particular notebook using the dbutils activity. So dbutils.notebook.run, and we can pass the parameter of the second notebook from the first notebook itself. So accordingly, the second notebook will run, and all the components on the gold fact tables which is needed for the gold layer, it will be computed on the second notebook, and the remaining part, after completing the remaining part, the pipeline gets completed. And in any of the stage, if the pipeline gets failed, we can set up fail alert in ADF, which can trigger email notification to the end user if the pipeline gets failed.
If the pipeline is getting failed, then I just wanted to understand how will you, I mean, set up this notification system in ADF? What kind of process is there?
There is two process. One process is set an alert system. We have a manage in the manage tab of ADF. We have an alert system that there only we can set a notification system. Another approach is Logic app, but honestly, I haven't used Logic app in my project, so I don't know the exact integration of Logic app with ADF. But we can use email notification with the Logic app as well.
Can ADF also monitor if there is any error while the delta table load is happening?
Sorry, thank you.
I mean, in the time of loading the delta table or any kinds of delta table operation when I'm doing inside the Databricks job, right? If it is failing, ADF can also monitor that.
No, because if the database gets failed at any stage, so database the job will be show not show as a complete. It will not show as a failed job. It will show as a complete job. So we need to set up a custom activity to show that particular job as a failed job. So we need to use a failed activity as a custom logic. Whether we should pass like a variable stored procedure, maybe variable to that failed activity. It will check that particular variable. If it is true, then the job will be completed. If it is a false, it will trigger a failed activity. So we need to use failed activity. Otherwise, it will not
failed activity is fine, but suppose you want to, when you'll be sending email, right? You want to also notify the developer what kind of error it is getting from the Databricks. So basically, you want to fetch out the Spark logs and you want to paste in the email notification in a nice manner.
Okay.
You want to paste a CSV file with the error log. So, any idea how to do that in ADF or how to do that in their system?
So one possible way is using SFTP integration. So we can set up a SFTP integration. So whenever a particular job gets failed, we can create a log for that particular failure activity, and we pass that fail log as an attachment to the SFTP mail integration, and it will send that particular mail to the user. That is how I have done actually. But apart from that, I don't know.
Okay, fine. Okay, just last question. As you also worked in ADF, maybe you are receiving some CSV file in ADLS, okay? These are very small files, so you want to update some column to the string to int and maybe join these two files. And while writing, you might be writing this thing in a Parquet file format. But as these files are very small, so you do not want to share a database job. You want to do everything in ADF itself, okay? Like reading the file, update the column name or column format, then join these two data sets and writing again to the ADLS Gen2. Just walk me through the process. How will you do this thing step by step in ADF itself?
Okay. So first of all, we need to have a data flow activity for this, as we are aggregating the data. So we'll have a two source table. One is for the maybe say left table, and the other one is for the right table. So for the left table in source, we can use projection to change the data type of all the columns that is required from string to integer. And after that, we can have a join activity to join the left table to the right table. After having the join, we can ask what is the final problem statement after joining?
After joining, you have to convert the file from CSV, and the output file should be in Parquet file format.
Fine. So if it is a one-time activity, we can use a sync and then inline dataset. If the dataset is not required in other processes, so we can use the inline dataset and mention Parquet and or Delta. Otherwise, we can have a dedicated dataset to load the particular file in a sync through sync.
Fine. Okay, cool, Shramadip. That's all from my end. But just before end the session, I want to just review the questions very quickly and discuss where you have done good and probably maybe some area you can work. So mostly you do have good project knowledge. Okay, so I try to ask as much as I can, I'm going into the depth just to understand the little nuisance you have in your project. But you have explained nicely. So I can tell that you do have the good knowledge, and that's one of the very crucial points that one candidate should have. Another thing, you explained nicely how you have implemented the data quality checks, and this is fine. Databricks infrastructure planning, the questions I have asked you have done well. And you also have understanding how Databricks pricing model works. PySpark question is fine. And the notifications questions I asked you, that question is also fine, but when you are explaining for the first time this thing, the SFTP endpoint thing is fine, but how this notification failure ADF can handle, I guess you can check a little bit on that thing.
Okay.
But one thing I just want to ensure that you should work, probably that is the most weak area in the entire interview session, that is you need to work very hard on SQL, okay, because SQLs are not predictable. They can ask you any kind of SQL problem, and it can vary from easy to complex level. So, the most difficult part of the SQL is you have to at least come up with a basic solution within 10 minutes. Okay, and I was trying to give you some kinds of hint, but the thing is, probably you have understood that thing, but your query formation was not right. Okay, so you're a little bit of hesitated how to put the keywords where, something like that. So you practice the SQL once, because even if you have good knowledge, if you're not able to write SQL properly, then probably you might get rejected. Some other candidate is very good at writing SQL, so maybe he is taking that position. Okay, so other things are fine. Just work on your SQL, work on the building ADF pipeline, maybe because that is one of the crucial orchestration offering which Azure has. So ADF, you just study a little bit more. Other things are fine. If you have anything to tell, you can share your thought. We can listen.
No, actually, sir, the SQL problem, honestly, I just got confused because the problem statement I completely understood, and I'll definitely work on that so that it will get into.
All the best, Samadip. I guess
Thank
you
you,
will
sir.
get
Thank you
a
so much.
good opportunity in the near future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.